Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mike Popadak here for, I guess, our newest episode of Disruptive Plays. I'm guest hosting here, and for those who don't know me, I'm CEO, co-founder of iViewIt, and today we've got Clinton Fairbanks, and I'll let him do his introduction, but I love the idea of futurists who are trying to look deep and long into what is coming. So I'll let Clinton give a quick introduction on who he is and what he does, and then we'll get into a few questions here.
All right. All right. Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate this opportunity. I'm Clinton Fairbanks. As Mike said, I'm a futurist. I really like to dive into what the future possibilities of facility management is. I've spent the majority of my career as a facility management outsourcing consultant. And so over that course of my time, I have seen a lot of great innovations come and go. And so I'm excited about this opportunity to speak today.
Yeah. So it's interesting, Clinton, right? I came from a industry, consumer packaged goods, that very advanced, all kinds of technology. And when I got into facilities over 10 years ago, I felt like I took a huge step backwards,
Yeah.
which is one reason why we created iViewIt. But it is fascinating, and I've seen so much innovation and so much money being poured into the innovation in the facilities management world. So I guess, I give you just a real quick, and I really want to spend time on you, of how I got into facilities management. Maybe tell us how did you get into facilities management?
So, like most of us in the FM industry, I kind of fell into it. So, I was working here in Chicago. I joined a major consulting firm as a process improvement consultant.
Okay.
Um, my background is I went to Japan. I've lived in Japan for 7 years. I studied with Toyota for 6 months and basically had the Toyota production method and continuous improvement ingrained into me. And so as a consultant, I was always going to my clients to find ways to reduce one step, to reduce one step. So I got into FM because I was put on a real estate optimization program for a major airline back in 2005. And here I am. I've
Yeah.
been in the industry ever since.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that most people get into it, and one that when you talk about it with others, they don't even realize all the work that goes into maintaining and keeping the facilities
Yeah.
that we use every day up and running. So I guess the big question is for a futurist is what do you see the biggest challenges that you're seeing right now, having the time and years in the industry. What are you seeing as the biggest hurdles for those in the space?
So I would say it's the speed of change that is right now the biggest challenge for organizations. So when you think about it, you have large organizations that have put in these large systems for data. They have these procurement divisions, they have their facilities group, they have all these divisions within the company that are set. And ultimately, what we saw just recently with the pandemic is we saw that the ability to be flexible, the ability to change, and the ability to evolve rapidly, that is what every company is needing to do. Otherwise, their bottom line is going to be hurt. And so when I say the speed of change, when we're thinking about this, you as a disruptor in the industry, or maybe I should say you as an innovator in the industry are bringing a new service that many companies have never thought about.
Yeah.
And there are every day you see new programs coming out, see new robots, new innovations. You see so much coming out. And I think the biggest challenge really is for an organization because they're bombarded with information. They're bombarded with the new. How is it that you can go through and dissect what is truly needed for your company?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because we've been at this 7 or 8 years now, and when we first got started, the amount of no's, I don't know why I would need this. I have people that currently do this. How that changed when we first got started to where we're at now. Even the recent show that we were at, it just the change in the mindset of yes, we got to try, right? We have to
Hmm.
adopt. We have to look into this. And what's interesting with us too is we kind of operate in other verticals. We started in FM. I told you I came from consumer packaged goods, but we work in insurance and other places too. And one big thing I noticed, you think about insurance and all the money that's spent with that, they have set up just little incubators within
Yes.
companies, right? And I think you see that now with some of the big guys like
Hmm.
CBRE and JLL, the JLL Spark, and some of that stuff, to set up little incubators to test things out and to move rapidly, and or to innovate within the company themselves to bring the products
Absolutely.
to them. Yeah, so 100%. So
Yeah.
I guess go ahead.
Oh, and I'm in absolute agreement with it. Part of my career as being a consultant, I've spent the majority of my career consulting for companies like KPMG,
Yeah,
for a lot of the Fortune and Global 100s. And the ability to go in and see, what it was like a decade ago, what it was like 5 years ago, and what it's like now, it's
yeah.
completely different.
Yep, I
So,
agree. I agree. So I mean, let's stay on that. Like, what do you see as some of those technology advancements or disruptors that are right around the corner, or maybe a little
yeah.
further out?
Well, I here's what I'm seeing, and with the biggest disruptor or the biggest innovation that's coming to the industry is a combination of both AI and robotics.
Okay.
So, you know, everywhere you go, AI is just changing the landscape quickly.
It feels like
So
the new internet, doesn't it?
it does, right?
Yep.
And it's one of those where we're navigating down a path where we're not quite sure where it's going to go and what the end outcome is going to be. And this is gives you an example of why I was in Rotterdam just recently presenting for IFMA. My presentation really said, how do you future-proof facility management?
Hmm.
And one of the core things I stated was AI and robotics are its own prop tech vertical.
Yeah.
And with that, I see, give you an example. With robotics, you have autonomous lawnmowers for landscaping.
Sure.
And there's several companies that are out there that are building and working on creating the world's best autonomous lawnmower.
Yep.
Well, the innovation that's going to come is having that lawnmower combined with AI. Now you're going to be able to go from reducing 4 people on a crew to maybe 2 people, and then maybe in the future, with the machine learning that's coming around, you
Yeah.
may be even able to go down to one. And it's
Yeah.
not replacing people,
Right.
but what it's doing is helping with the labor shortages that are around.
100%. How far? And by the way, I worked at Brightview Landscapes for a number of years,
Yeah,
so I think they're probably still the largest, I'm sure. And just them thinking of it then, and fast forward 7 8 years, it's
yeah.
still not taking hold. So how long till where I'm looking out here and I see autonomous robots mowing the grass? How far away do you think that is?
It's one of those little snowball effects.
Yep.
Next year you may see a few, and within 5 years, you're going to see almost every corporate campus having one.
Yep.
And where I see that being driven is, give you an example. When I was a consultant and I was outsourcing to clients, when I was, writing the RFPs and taking clients to market,
Yeah.
one of the specific sections we would write in is what's your innovation and what innovation you're going to bring to the table. And give you an example here is most recently I worked for JLL for several years,
Yep.
on the service provider slide. And so for one of our airline clients, I went to them. I went down and worked with our operations team, and I was looking at the windows that our client has at the airport
Mm-hmm.
and also at their bays for their, where they do all their maintenance bays.
Okay.
And I said, those are really dirty windows. And the property man or the facility manager was basically telling me, yeah, but we can only clean them once a year. That's all that's in our budget. So I said,
Right.
well, why don't you go and get the Roomba window cleaners? And now you can clean on a quarterly basis and have clean windows. And so I had to explain to him that now there's autonomous robots that can climb up buildings
Mm-hmm.
and, clean your windows.
Yeah.
So,
So let's talk a little bit more about AI because I've got my own thoughts and beliefs on this, but I do
yeah.
think every company needs to have a strategy.
Hmm.
What are your feelings? Is is everything AI? Are people just breaking down some things, relabeling it AI? Like, how is AI, and maybe some more examples of current systems that we're using, some of these legacy systems you talked about. How can AI help? And then
Yeah.
what are some things that people need to shift completely to, into your point, and utilizing AI like 100%?
Yeah. So AI, right now, I think it's like you were mentioning, it's just the birth of the internet. And
Yeah,
so, what we can use it for, we really still don't know the true power. I mean, how many of us back 20 years ago thought that we were going to be able to buy anything and everything online?
right.
Um, so with AI, here's some of the things that I've started seeing is that with the ability to have a technician go out onto a property, give you an example. Let's take an HVAC technician.
Okay.
They could go into an air conditioning unit, they could open it up, they could be looking at it, they could be determining what is the issue. Well, if that technician is also has an AI companion with them, the AI companion can also say, hey, this system is, there's a common issue with this brand, compressor. There's a common issue with this brand's belt, or, there's always been issues with this brand's air conditioner in this type of climate. So now AI can help pre-diagnose what are some of the potential problems that this system may have or that the unit may have. So I'm seeing AI as more of an enhancement right now
Hmm.
to the technician and making the technician think more strategically, making the technician make better decisions, make better judgments. And in the meantime, the AI can automatically be ordering parts,
Right.
searching inventory and getting parts on order.
Sure. And
So,
ultimately, I think, right, all the systems and all the data, and we fall into this category too with the photos and surveys. It's how
yeah,
does AI help bring that together, instead of someone having to go through it manually. And it's interesting
right.
because, you know, when you have people doing things, it's somewhat unpredictable. Maybe you feel better about
Yeah,
it, but at least I can predict the mistakes that AI might make. Like, okay, I'm going to
right,
send them through this, but I know generally like AI is going to make this mistake. So it's like to your point, it's finding ways to use it along with
right.
it to speed up and enhance those key assets. That's kind of how we're looking at it
Yeah.
these days now too. Well, what else? What else advancements or AI? What else? What
So
else?
here's some food for thought. Think about like your platform. You're going and taking photos of company sites. Well, you
Mhm.
could start doing annual assessments and then using AI to actually analyze building shell.
Yeah.
And then the AI can start probing for potential roof issues, and it can start, it could actually take, with your photos, it could actually start telling clients, when do you need to repave your parking lots?
You,
So I
you
see
might be looking at a
that's
roadmap or something. You must have a sneak peek under it, Clinton.
right, right. So,
But
yeah,
you're exactly right. We've got this data. How do we use it to help predict things? Because it's looking at how that data looked a year or two ago on a similar site, and then
right.
sees how it looks today. That's exactly right. So, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What
So
what else would you like to share? Would you like to have our listeners, know about, someone who's trying to take a peek into the future, what their work might look like?
yeah. So in the future, a couple things that I always tell people to be cognizant about robotics and AI is first is everyone always has this fear that, okay, it's going to come over, take away our jobs, or it's going to do away with certain positions. Yeah, it will do away with certain positions, but when you think about, for example,
Yep.
the automobile, it did away with horse stables in cities, and it also, did away with the cleanup crews. But
Yep.
what the automobile industry did create is it created gasoline stands. It created a whole different industry, and I think that's where we've got to look is that how is AI going to come in and enhance your job,
Yep.
and how is it going to enhance your organization? So as I've gone into my clients, I started talking to them. Well, first of all, what do you need in your organization? What type of data? What type of performance reporting? What type of information do you need? So now you can help AI come in and help you do better gap analyses, help
Yep.
you understand where your organization really needs to focus on. And I really think it's an enhancement tool
Yep.
versus something that replaces labor.
Yeah.
And then,
But You called us a disruptor at one point, and it was the same way when we kind of got into this. It was like, but I have people that can do that. It's like, yeah, but
Hmm.
there's certain things that a guy or gal you're paying what you're paying to turn a wrench is doing that can be offloaded into our platform. We can bring it back to you faster across all your portfolio, saves windshield times, does a lot of things to enhance their performance. So
Absolutely.
it's basically the same thing, just right through the systems using AI to get there. So
Yeah.
good.
I
What
was
else?
just talking to a buddy in Amsterdam the other week about your program, and it was really interesting because when I explained it to him, it was like, so I view a program as a quality check. And I
Yep.
said, yes. And then I said, and now think about it. With your system and with the AI systems that you're thinking of putting in, now
Yep.
you can go and look at your entire American portfolio and really do in what would normally take weeks to go and do a full-on scan.
Yeah.
You can now take all of those pictures. You can have the viewers go out, take photos within a few days. Then you can take all your AI and you can now go in and determine what's changed on your properties,
Right.
what needs to be fixed quicker.
Yep.
That can all be done in a matter of hours now.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's exciting times. Like I said, when I first got into FM, it was like it is one reason we built it. Right before I knew how many pounds of potato chips I was selling through stores, I got
yeah,
to a place and I was like, I don't know if we plowed the snow or cut the grass 100% on the portfolio, and it was a lot of work to go get it done.
right.
And it is amazing. Again, the prop tech in investments that are going on,
Yep.
all of it across the board. So, um, yeah, I find it fascinating, and I think the fact that there's folks like you who are looking and helping, and we just got to keep trying to convince these big organizations to try some things out, to try to be a little bit more nimble. And I think the story of what I started with, like we've got folks who we started talking to 3 4 years ago are just coming on board on our platform.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I encourage everybody to have an AI plan, for sure.
absolutely.
Anything? Oh, go ahead.
So I was going to say, you hit on a point, have an AI plan. So part of what I talk about with future-proofing facilities is first understanding what data you need,
Yep.
understanding the gaps, but also understanding what data your organization needs.
Okay.
And this is something where, we all fall into this. We all tend to have, this tunnel vision. We all look into silos. And so I always encourage my clients and, those around me to really look at it from a holistic perspective. So if you're a facility manager, go and talk to your IT team, go and talk to your finance team, go and talk to HR and find out their needs as well. Because what you do is once you start collaborating together, that's when the company sees the actual ability to, oh, this is what we truly need, not
Yeah.
just what FM needs. And then you create a plan, and that plan is what's your strategic vision? And we all know you're going to have a detour on the way,
Hmm.
but as long as you have collaborated and you have this team of stakeholders that from I would call them your cross-divisional stakeholders.
Right.
This is really the big way to create that strategic data and AI and future FM
Yep.
plan. So
And so, just to be clear, you're saying if I'm in FM and I'm a retailer, I'm talking to those folks who are responsible for selling the product. I'm talking to
yes,
every different entity. So, we recently did a QBR with a large retailer, and we gave them a quick state of our business and the information that they were able to give us, not just for facilities, but what was happening across all their business, and like so it just made me think of that because
yeah,
they had a really good understanding of direction the company was going, why certain things were happening, categorization of things. I mean, really, really good understanding, which I think most do. But
yeah,
to your point, but maybe not everybody through that organization or in FM understands it at the same level that they did. So
right,
spreading that information, getting those people the knowledge they need, because to what you're saying is then you know what data you're looking for, and then you have a way to go understand how to go get it.
absolutely, right.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a good example. I know a major retailer that they're looking for an energy management program, right?
Okay.
And when they were working on their energy management program, the disconnect between the energy managers and the facility managers and the stores
Yep.
were The stores need it at a consistent temperature, right? The energy managers need to reduce, their energy spend.
Yeah.
And the facility managers are tired of working on these systems that continue to break down. So what they didn't have is a unified plan, but even beyond that is procurement was coming to them and saying, hey, we have this service provider, we have this supplier, we have this OEM that is going to provide us with this equipment,
Hmm.
and let's go with it because it's going to be great for the company. But there was never really any discussion with the actual FM team. Does this brand break down?
Right.
How does this brand do in this zone versus this zone and this climate?
Yeah.
So you can take AI in the future and combine it, and the AI can help the company make the decision. What is the best plan? What is the best equipment? Oh, and by the way, what's the best temperature for the store?
Right.
Right.
Fascinating. I love it.
So,
And I think there's so much from just folks getting out of those silos and talking more, and then ultimately making decisions and going do it and
yeah,
execute. So, okay.
absolutely.
I want to be respectful of time. Anything else that we didn't talk about that you kind of wanted to make sure you got across to anybody listening to the podcast?
So, food for thought is as we're going down the road, as robotics come into play, as energy management, sustainability come into play, and as AI is here. You know, ultimately, one of the things that we have learned in the past is that the more technology we have, sometimes the more stressed and more multitasking we start to, take on.
Yep.
So this is one of those areas where I finally started realizing that sometimes, give you an example, your clients who are just coming on,
Hmm.
it's taken that 3 to 4 years for them to see that they can give this over to you. It's that ultimately sometimes it is really being able to come in and understanding your limitations and being able to be open to new ideas and listening to people who are bringing innovation to the market. And unfortunately, sometimes it is we're either blinded by our budgets or we're blinded by, our standard operational procedures. But I always tell people, take your problem and write it out on a blank piece of, paper, and write out what your solution is, and
Yep.
write out your solution first,
Yeah.
because when you think of the possibilities
Yeah.
first, don't think of the limitations,
Yep.
then you can see that change is really easy to bring
Yeah.
on.
I like that blinded by your budget comment because somebody
Yeah.
told me once as we were getting into this business that folks wouldn't have a budget for it, and the example they gave was, do you think Starbucks had a budget for Wi-Fi? When it first started, and they were trying to charge you for it and all this other,
Right,
and then they eventually just realized, no, the solution is we have to have Wi-Fi because folks are going to come here, drink coffee, and they expect to use it, but there was no budget for it, right? To go put
right,
that stuff in instantly, right, and fast and quickly and be competitive. So, but you don't want to get blinded by your budget if you're understanding, hey, what your customers' needs are, what your store needs are, and again, where
exactly,
technology is going, right, with the Internet of Things, it's like, yeah, we have to have this, and it's got to be available for everyone.
exactly.
So.
And sometimes it's your budget that, when you think about it, Starbucks is a great example. The ability to put Wi-Fi into the store, now all of a sudden you have customers coming and staying longer,
Right, exactly right.
right?
And to
Now
your
you've
point
got,
earlier about talking and understanding, everybody's goals, yeah,
right,
and in that industry, right, it's share of well, not wallet, it's share of stomach, right? They could be
right,
sitting at a sub shop that has Wi-Fi as long as it has Wi-Fi, then instead of drinking coffee. But so yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's very interesting, and I think to your point, you've got to remove those, things that traditionally hold you back of, well, we've always done it that way, or I don't have a budget for that.
right,
Maybe there's an offset down the road, and then hopefully up when you're trying to sell it to those higher up the levels, they are open minded about it as well. So
absolutely. I mean, just think of the one example, and this, the cell phone has changed our lives, right? And
for
what
sure.
we would say is the smartphone.
Yep.
Think about all of the industries that have opened up because Steve Jobs came out with the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Yours.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, who would have thought? Think about it. 25 years ago, who would have thought that a camera, a telephone, a fax machine, a TV, a stereo, and every other device that you can think of was all put into just one of these.
Yep,
Right.
that's amazing. Yeah, no,
So
it is. Well, again, I hope obviously we can stay in touch and kind of foresee and work on the future together. But if anybody wants to get a hold of you, Clinton, what's the best way?
best way is my website is sojifm.com, and it's also Clinton at sojifm.com.
Okay,
So
and I'm sure we'll post that as we get this podcast out. But Glenn, I just want to tell you that thank you. I appreciate it very much. Again, time is for me
yeah,
and anybody I think is so critical, right? We got lots of different things, so I appreciate you taking time speaking with
absolutely.
us today. So, all right, sir.
Likewise, Mike. Thank you. Really
All right,
appreciate it. Have a great day.
you too, sir.